Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for watching and listening. We have with us today Khobe Clarke. We're talking Firefly Lane Part 2, premiering here very soon on the 27th, correct? Is when the second half comes to us. And unfortunately, it's the final season. But this has been such a fun run. Thanks for your time. It's a pleasure to meet you and
Likewise.
excited to talk to you about the series. Well, again, most people have just fallen in love with these characters and have really enjoyed this project. How does it feel to have this under your belt and for people to see everything and really just embrace the last season of it?
Yeah, it's an incredible show about a female relationship over a span of a couple decades. Being a part of it was my first big job, which was crazy, intimidating, and scary. It's the first couple full sentences I said on camera, so it kind of hit me by storm. But I had a lovely cast and the crew. They had already been working together a couple years, so there was quite a family aspect to that. And I came in, and they were very inviting and lovely, and I felt at home immediately.
That's great. It has to feel good, but also validating as an actor to come into a machine that is well oiled and people have been working together for a long time, and you're like the new kid in school. I've heard that term used before,
Yeah,
and you have
that's a
to
good way of putting
adjust.
it.
Like, what is that experience like? I mean, you just described on this project, but just on a very visceral level, as just an actor, you have all these feelings coming into it. How does that feel once that moment happens and you connect with everybody, but then you have your first lines?
Yeah, that great question. I mean, I wasn't only the new kid at school for Firefly Lane, but also just the industry in general. So there was kind of this double dose of like extreme nerves and pent up excitement. I remember me, Rowan Curtis, and the director that day kind of stepped aside and talked about a later scene, and I was shaking. They're like, "Oh, Kobe, do you need a jacket?" And I was like, "I'm not cold. I'm just nervous." And I the first day I was there, I had the first lines of the day, so I got to see nothing prior. And it was a scene where I was on stage and kind of auditioning for the school play that the students would put on. And I remember being so nervous until they said action, I said the line, and then suddenly it was like this massive weight. I didn't look at the camera, I didn't stumble it, I just said it, and that felt like the biggest win. So from there on, it just that first little bit was the hardest part. Once you get it out, it's you start to fly.
Yeah, we've had Roan on previously for the first section. Yeah, it's just such a good show. So let's talk about that because this is big for you. This is one of your first really major projects. Let's talk about what led up to this and your introduction into the industry. Like, how did that journey begin for you?
Began here actually. I'm in my parents' home in Calgary, Alberta. I grew up doing musical theater
Okay.
anytime I could, and then a couple years ago, I moved out to Vancouver to take my stab at the big scary film industry. And it started. I took a little acting course, really knowing nothing about what goes on, and I just got on Vancouver Actors Guide and started doing these student films and for free. And then you get these auditions, and at first they're no name day player roles, and then they get a little bigger. And all I had done was Firefly Lane, which was an actor role, one day, a couple scenes. And then I auditioned for Coop, which was this originally this 3 episode character guest star, which luckily got extended. And I just remember doing the audition with my coach Bob Frazier, and he was like, I think you'll get this. And then I remember I was working at the golf course at the time, in Vancouver, and it was like a Saturday, and I was closing down the golf course in the rain, and I saw an email from my agent Melise. They're like, they're calling you back, and I just remember throwing everything, and I was like, I did the call back, and yeah, getting that call one morning, I'm sitting with my friend watching a TV show, and Melise calls me, and she said, "Are you sitting down?" It's
I
like,
love
I
that.
am now.
The
And
classic "Are you sitting down? I have news" moment.
yeah, exactly. It was either like Coop, or I'm dropping you, but I got the part, and it's just been the craziest roller coaster ever since, almost a year
Well,
ago.
yeah, that's
Exactly.
wild. There's nowhere to go but up at this point, right? I mean, because
I hope so,
you've
Brett.
achieved what most actors I think work their lifetime for, to even just get a day player role, but to have a part that's driving the story, although it's an alternate timeline in the world of Firefly Lane based on the books, you still are just like you've achieved something massive. So now that you've done that, where do you go from here? You know what I mean? You keep auditioning and keep doing all the things.
Yeah, thank you. I feel extremely fortunate and lucky, and I think it was kind of this perfect storm of when luck meets preparation, and yeah, I feel very, very lucky. I think next, yeah, it's just about keeping the momentum. It's you can't get, I think, complacent um, with anything, with any type of success in this industry. I think every level has its problems, and I think getting distracted by. I remember doing the show and then going back to the golf course to work my day job, and I'm like, well, what is this? Like, I'm a TV actor now. Like, I can't. I remember being like frustrated. I just wanted another job so bad. So I think keeping that is valuable, and that drive, no matter what level you are, because I think that propels you. So yeah, continuing to audition, staying in class, further educating and developing myself in this crazy craft, and just keeping the ball rolling.
Yes, and to your point about like the day job thing, I mean that's not like horribly uncommon for a lot of actors when they start. I mean, because you still have bills to pay. I mean,
Totally.
although you might be living at home or whatever the case might be, like that. And I think the statistics, I think just through SAG in general, I think 5% of the entire populace like are
Wow.
completely employed, you know, are able to quit the day job. But I mean, there's no shame in that. I think that's honorable, really, because
Zero shame. Yeah.
yeah, because you're really the definition of a working actor. Like you're doing what it takes to make the dream come true, and those things will come. And I think that's what's encouraging. Just listening to your story in general is the fact that like you're making it happen, right? Because like again, going back to my point, it's like what you've accomplished. I think there's a lot of people out there, and it's a big C to be a part of. I mean, now
It
that
is.
you've done this, what does family think now that you've booked this big role and you've got these episodes coming out? Friends, family, do they tease you about it? Do they give you a
Oh
hard
my
time?
goodness. They are ruthless.
I'm
Ruthless.
sure they'll keep you humble, I bet.
They really will. I need it. It's a grounding experience. I actually, like I said, I'm home, and I had some clips of my stuff on Firefly Lane, and my grandmother, who's my biggest fan, probably the only friend or family that doesn't tease me. They came over, we made cookies, and my sister, mom, dad, and grandmother sat and watched my scenes, and it was just kind of this. I've been talking about doing this for a long time, and to show them kind of this proof of concept that there I am. Doing it was great. My friends, on the other hand, I will never stop here. My first ever words on screen was "What's up, Mrs. S" in Yellow Jackets, and basically anytime I see any of my friends, they're like, "What's up, Mrs. S?"
Yeah, well, let's
So
talk about that. Yellow Jackets was huge too. I mean, you can't dismiss that. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, it was a equally terrifying experience. I was in for the pilot, so I think they were or the first time I was in for the pilot. It was just this kind of crazy. The magnitude of these projects are insane, and the fact that 85 to 100 people all doing different things that they're very good at a professional level can come together and make this like singular project. Like they just materialize all their efforts is just like still is baffling to me. From the electricians to the directors to the producers to the gaffers to the actors, it's like everyone is doing something and working so hard at it, and it all comes together to do one thing. It's just like crazy. Yeah, Yellow Jackets, amazing. Melanie Linsky, who I've known for a long time, is just incredible. Sarah Desjardins, awesome Vancouver actor. Yeah, that was really my first experience, and I will never forget it.
How was it working on that show? Because I mean, they're back for another season now. Obviously, we know the fate of your character, but I mean, it was just a really good. You're like, oh
Tough,
yeah,
Brent, right? right? I
Yeah,
know.
it was a bummer to see you go, but you had a good way to go. I mean, you died a good death, and I think there's something to be said about that.
I think so too. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I mean, honored, absolutely honored that they even wrote me in for the second season to go back. So cool. And then to go back after they've achieved so much success, they're like, okay, let's go. Like they're just, I mean, obviously I was there for no time at all, relatively speaking, but just to go back and see how there's a reason it's so successful, and that's because of how hard everybody's working when they're doing it. It's yeah, it was amazing. Again, it's just so great to be a part of something that wonderful.
Well, again, as I said, the sky is the limit. Congratulations on this. Firefly
Thank you,
Lane
Brett.
Part 2, absolutely. Season or Part 2 uh premiering April 27th, and excited to see what's next for you. You're always welcome back. I can't wait, and congratulations just on all the fun things. And I appreciate your time, Kobe. It was a pleasure to meet you today.
I appreciate yours, Brett. Likewise. Talk to you
Thank you.
soon.